Hello and welcome to Wake Up Canada News. I'm Brad Wilder. On this, our 50th episode, I want to take the time to thank all of our viewers before we get into today's news. It's thanks to viewers like you that keep us doing this newscast every single day and continued effort to educate the woke and as well to help understand what's happening in our great country, or not so great country under the Justin Trudeau and his WEF Liberal NDP coalition. Now, as much as I hate to tell you this, just like in the Netherlands, Justin Trudeau is not dancing with blackface and clogs or eating some strange tasting licorice. Instead, he's bringing in a nitrogen emissions cap that will absolutely decimate the Canadian farming as we know it. I say stop the Liberals from talking, like Chrystia Freeland, for example. If we could get her to stop talking with all her hot air, maybe we could cut down on those emissions. Common denominator is that the Liberal and NDP coalition are full of nothing but, well, you know the rest. You did hear that right. Trudeau's nitrogen policy will decimate Canadian farming. In December of 2020, the Trudeau government released their new climate plan with a big focus on reducing nitrous oxide emissions from fertilizer by 30% below 2020 levels, and they're going to try to do that all by 2030. A new release from Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada read, fertilizers play a major role in the agriculture sector's success and have contributed to record harvests in the last decade. They have helped drive the increases in Canadian crop yields, grain sales, and even exports. However, nitrous oxide emissions, particularly those associated with synthetic nitrogen fertilizer, have also grown significantly. That's why the Government of Canada has set the National Fertilizer Emissions Reduction Target, which is part of the commitment to reduce total GHG emissions in Canada by 40 to 45% by 2030, end quote. Now, this is an unwilling admission that any attempt to lower emissions by reducing nitrogen fertilizer will consequently lower crop yields over the next decade, hurting the agriculture sector and, more importantly, hurting Canadian farmers. And in a report from Fertilizer Canada, the total emission reduction puts a cap on the total emissions allowable from fertilizer at 30% below 2020 levels. Now, as the yield of Canadian crops is directly linked to the proper fertilizer application, this creates, well, a ceiling on Canadian agricultural productivity well below 2020 levels. It's estimated now that 30% absolute emission reduction for a farmer with 1,000 acres of canola and 1,000 acres of wheat stands to have their profit reduced by approximately $38,000 to $40,000 annually. Did you know in 2020, Western farmers planted approximately 20.8 million acres of canola? If you use these values cumulatively, farm revenues from canola could be reduced by $396 to $441 million on an annual basis countrywide. Wheat farmers could also experience a reduction of up to $400 million from their crop. Also, Fertilizer Canada doesn't believe that forcibly decreasing fertilizer will even lower greenhouse gases, but could lead to carbon leakage elsewhere. It just doesn't matter at all as Trudeau's government is moving forward. Some are now wondering if he's intentionally trying to cause a food shortage, which Trudeau, of course, told Canadians that we better prepare for. Now, we've seen from the global pandemic to the war in Ukraine significant disruptions of supply chains around the world, which is again resulting in higher prices for consumers and democracies alike like ours, and also resulting in significant disruptions of supply chains around the world, which again is resulting in higher prices for consumers and democracies like ours. It also results in significant shortages and projected shortages of food and energy in places around the world, Trudeau said. He's got an answer for everything, doesn't he? Well, this is going to be a difficult time, he continued, because of the war, because of the recovery from the pandemic, and Canadians will do what we always do, he said in his dramatic fashion. We will be there for Canadians. Such dramatic words from the former drama teacher who gets his scripts from Klaus Schwab, as JT, of course, is his little puppy dog for the WEF. Reducing nitrogen emissions released by fertilizer is crucial to the survivability of the agriculture sector here in Canada, but it isn't the only target of Trudeau's government. Every part of the economy has been negatively impacted by Trudeau's climate agenda. On April 1st, the same day he gave himself that big raise, well, Trudeau decided to go ahead and he jacked up the carbon tax by an additional 25%, consequently increasing the price of practically everything in our nation. As Alberta MP Shannon Stubbs wrote at the time in an article for the Counter Signal, she said the Liberal government is hiking the tax on everything carbon taxable, while Canadians struggle like never before with skyrocketing prices for essentials like food and fuel to heating and housing. Of course, the Liberals claim the carbon tax is revenue neutral, according to Chrystia Freeland. Whether for governments or for Canadians, that's just not true. The Independent, a nonpartisan parliamentary budget officer, calculates the GST collected on carbon taxes at more than $200 million each year, which goes straight into the government coffers. Years ago, Conservatives tried to end this tax on a tax, but the Liberals, of course, wouldn't budge. Since Justin has boosted the carbon tax, gas prices have soared to over $2.05 per litre across Canada, and in some places higher, with one Liberal candidate saying that the silver lining is that Canadians will be priced out of driving. And as with other problems facing our crumbling economy, Trudeau doesn't appear to be giving a shit to remedy it. Unsurprising? Not likely, eh? I'm Brad Wilder. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share, and don't forget to comment. This is Wake Up Canada News. I'll see you next time.